All right, there we go. All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. We've got another, random topics in the truck style video. Right now, I'm just waiting outside of my daughter's school, and yeah, gonna be able to get this video out to you guys. Looks like it might rain a little bit, so if y'all start hearing some craziness going on outside, start seeing it in the background, y'all know what's going on. But let's do this, guys. Let's get right into it. We actually have 3 topics to talk about today. We're going to be talking about pair bands, Blue Purple Luffy, and the new promo Roger coming out. They're kind of all 3 meant to go together, but they're going to be 3 separate topics. I'll try to tackle each one individually. Nothing's wrong with any of these cards. We're just talking generally today. It's just meant to be a random topic, a random discussion. So let's do this, guys. Let's get right into it. I will have everything time-stamped in the general description, and I'll have all relevant links and stuff like that in the comment section below. If you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please do not hesitate to put those down in the comment section below, or hop on the VV Theory Discord. Link will be in the channel description. Today's video is brought to you by Nin Garden, and pre-orders are now open for 4 new playmats, including Chaos Crew, Green Fury, and Absolute Ruler. They also carry apparel like the Kings of Heart tee and matching pin. Plus, for this month only, take part in their Halloween Mystery Playmat sale, which comes with 10 free card sleeves with your order. And don't forget to use the code TheVVTheory at the checkout to get 8% off on your next order. Now, let's do this, guys. Let's get right into it. First up is not Blue Purple Luffy. First up is going to be pair bands. I think pair bands are a great idea for this game, just in general, overall. I think they're a great idea for the game because, ideally, we wouldn't need any bands if the game was balanced properly, perfect play testing and all that. But, let's just be honest, guys, that's just not an option. We don't live in a perfect world. It is what it is. So I do think the next best thing, sorry, guys, got to adjust my camera a little bit. I think the next best thing is probably this pair band idea. And I hope they continue with that, and hopefully at some point, once the game meets a certain equilibrium, once it hits a certain point, maybe they'll be able to unban all the cards and just instead pair ban certain options. Now, some cards I do think probably need to be permanently gone from the game. Sorry to all the blue Nami players, OP03 Nami players. With the way that they're trying to build blue in the future, I don't think the old model of Nami can exist anymore. But hopefully they can work on the new promo Nami, and then we'll have access to that win condition in the future. But as is currently, that leader probably cannot be unbanned unless they do pair bannings, too many pair bans, at least in my personal opinion. But for example, this might be a little bit controversial. I think that we can probably get most, if not all, the other cards off of the ban list if we just pair ban appropriately. Now, we're going to talk about Blue Purple Luffy a little bit in a little bit here, and I don't think they handled that pair banning appropriately, but again, I'll save that for when we get to it. But, for example, with Gecko Moria, right, the 8 cost SR Gecko Moria, that card probably would be fine if they pair banned it with 4 cost Rebecca. So, okay, sorry, you can't run that. Okay, that would probably balance all that we need. And then another one to really consider is Great Eruption and Ice Age. Imagine if they did a 3-way triangular pair ban where basically you have to pick one. Do you want to run Ice Age? Do you want to run Tempest Kick? Or do you want to run Great Eruption? Now, some people might be saying, like, no, Ice Age is just simply too strong right now. And that's probably fine. Maybe instead make it where do you want to run Great Eruption or do you want to run Tempest Kick? Because there are certain decks, believe it or not, that would take something like a Great Eruption over a Tempest Kick. Like, I actually think Mono Black Gecko Moria, the leader, I think that deck would prefer a Great Eruption over the other 2 because it's just so much more consistent and it helps them develop in the early game and win the early and mid game and then start, snowballing into the late game. So that's something to really consider. But anyway, if they would find some kind of way to do like that properly, banning certain cards from being with each other across whatever leader you're playing. Because right now with the pair bans we've seen, with Blue Purple Luffy, that leader cannot run 8 cost Katakuri or 9 cost Lin. Well, that's fine and all, but I think we can make even more generic pair bans where it's like, hey, I don't care what leader you're running, you can't run 8 cost Gecko Moria with 4 cost Rebecca. Sorry, you just can't do it. And if they would do that, I think it would kind of balance that out. I think it'd be fine. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Now, the most controversial one I want to talk about is actually Red Purple Law. Hear me out, guys. What if they did 2 different pair bands for that, for, you know, well, in regards to that leader? It wouldn't be literally for that leader, but just, you know, it would make it where that leader would be balanced, I think, and be able to be played in the format. Imagine if they did this, guys. Red Purple Law and Black Maria pair band. They can't be played together. And then Gordon, like promo Gordon, Building Snake, and Raise Max, the 1-cost characters that can activate main. I think it bottom decks the card. Yeah, I think it bottom decks the card, and then minus 3,000 to a character for the turn. Make it where you can only run one of those. Same idea as with what I was saying with Tempest Kick, Great Eruption, and Ice Age. Make the same thing with Raise Max, Gordon, and the other one, Building Snake. Because I think that's kind of what helped push Red Purple Law too far, right? I mean, there's other things too. That deck is absolutely insane. Maybe it can't ever make it off the ban list. I don't know. You guys tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. But I'll tell you right now, all of that bottom decking, it's probably not going to be very good against Emu, right? But we'll have to see what happens there. What else? So that's oh, one more thing on pair bands is I do hope that I like what they're doing with pair bands, but I think they need to be a little bit more cautious with them, and, you know, maybe even revise them in the future. I'm sure that, you know, as with anything on the bans restriction list, anything can be updated and taken off or added on or you know, changed around or whatever. And I actually hope they reconsider soon. We're going to segue from this point now on pair bands over to Blue Purple Luffy, because I think they kind of messed up with the pair ban for Blue Purple Luffy. This will also eventually segue into the new promo Roger, right? The new one coming out in the OP13, you know, time period. How do I say this, guys? So when it comes to Blue Purple Luffy, I don't think the pair band they chose was good enough. Like, I think I was saying this from the beginning. I understand a lot of people don't like Gum Gum Giant. I totally understand. I totally understand that card is overtuned. I don't want to say it's broken, but it's definitely a little bit overtuned, because if it was broken, then we would see other leaders winning with it, right? Like Purple Yellow Nico Robin, maybe Red Purple Luffy. Who else? Blue Purple Sanji's running it, and I think Blue Purple Sanji kind of needs the card. But either way, you know, there's a bunch of different purple Straw Hat leaders in the game. But hear me out, guys. I don't think the Gum Gum Giant is the biggest problem. And when it comes to pair banning, like, clearly if they thought that was the problem, they would have banned Gum Gum Giant, right? But instead, they decided to do a pair ban with Blue Purple Luffy, right? They didn't really touch Green Purple Luffy, which was also doing very well. So if that's what's going on, okay, I'm glad they chose to adjust Blue Purple Luffy, which I do think that leader needed adjusting, but I think they did it in the wrong way. And I actually think that the leader was the problem. Because hear me out, guys. I'm sure a lot of people who follow this channel have heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it again. Sorry, guys. My hand keeps getting in front of the camera. My apologies. It's just part of this setup here. But hear me out. I think the problem is the leader. Okay, the leader, it's a 3-life 6K. That's whatever. We've seen that work before and be completely fine and balanced. And also the fact that it's blue and purple is nice, because it does allow you to ramp and stuff. Like the color combo, I think, is fine. I don't think the color combo is just too strong or anything like that. But I think the leader effect is. I do think the leader effect is just a little bit too strong. I mean, think about it, guys. You're doing, like, once you hit your 8 Dawn turns and you can ramp to them with purple, you're getting to the point where you're drawing 2 cards a turn, and it's so much more than that. You're doing a top 5 search, right? Okay, you draw a card from the effect. It has to be a Straw Hat card. Then you draw a card for the turn. You put it all back in the order you want. You draw a card for the turn, and then if you have 9-cost Sanji, you play out the next card, and the last 2 cards, you might draw those with your Gum Gum Giant on you know, when your opponent goes to attack on their turn. So you end up going through like 5 cards at a time, and then you're sorting through the next 5. I've even seen people make statements in like live streams and comment sections or whatever, wherever. So I can't remember where. It might have even been on Discord, where it's like, man, that guy got, you know, that Blue Purple Luffy player got super lucky because they saw all their Gum Gum Giants. Well, yeah, they're going through 5 cards a turn. Like, I mean, I would expect that. I'd be surprised if they didn't, right? Because think about it. If a game goes, let's just say, so, you know, let's just go through a normal game of Blue Purple Luffy, and let's say they hit the curve perfectly, right? So turn 1, pass. Turn 2, let's say they ramp to 4 Dawn with Gear 2. Turn 3, let's say they'll be on 6 Dawn at that point. So say they use a God Thread to go up to 7 Dawn. They sit on 2 Dawn. You attack in, or the opponent attacks in, and they're able to, you know, what's it called? Thunder Bagua, and somehow they get to 8 Dawn, right? Okay, from then on, so that was on turn 3. Let's just say it's even turn 4 on like a slower progression. Okay, well now, if they go turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, that's 3 extra turns. They've gone through 15 extra cards, right? And remember, guys, when you start the game off, you have 5 cards in your hand, you have 3 in your life, so that's 50 minus 8, that's 42 cards. So over the course of 3 turns, you've gone through 15 more cards. And that's just over 3 turns. Blue Purple Luffy games usually drag out to be pretty long because they slow down the board, they have to make it to the late game, and then they slowly get into the position that they need to win, and now they're going through all these cards. It just becomes incredible. It becomes so powerful. And if the game goes on 8 or 9 turns, I mean, goodness gracious, they literally will have gone through like their entire deck actually, or something very, very close to that. So yeah, whenever they see all their all of their counters and whatnot, yeah, it's not really all that surprising, right? But I have to say, Blue Purple Luffy, I think, is the ultimate problem there, and I don't mean to complain or anything like that. It seems like that's the issue. However, if they want to keep it in the game and they want to adjust it with a pair ban system, okay, that is something that they could probably work on. But I think they pair banned the wrong cards. The 9-cost Sanji, or the 9-cost, well, yeah, the 9-cost Sanji, I think, is actually the problem. But they have the 9-cost Linlin and the 8-cost Katakuri banned. Well, those cards are completely fine in every other purple deck, right? I mean, those cards are completely fine in every single other purple deck. However, in Blue Purple Luffy, they decided it was too strong. But I think that's because of the 9-cost Sanji. Because check this out, we're going to talk about this more in just a minute, guys. But a lot of people thought, okay, now that Blue Purple Luffy's been nerfed, okay, that's that deck's gone now. We don't have to worry about that anymore. Nope, sorry guys, wrong. That leader is still completely fine, and I think it's going to be doing well for the rest of OP 12.5. Who knows? Maybe not. We'll have to see what happens. And then going into OP 13, I think it'll be completely fine. I'm not saying it's going to run away with the format anymore, but here's all I'm going to say. As stronger and stronger cards come out in blue and purple that cost 9 and under, especially in the 7 to 9 cost range, the more cards that come out in the future, the stronger they are, the better Sanji gets. And now are they going to have to pair ban every time a new card comes out? See, this was the problem that I foresaw with Blue Nami, and I understood why they banned OP03 Blue Nami. Not because I didn't like the deck. I was not like a fan of that deck. I'm going to be honest, guys. I'm not trying to, sugarcoat it or lie or anything. But it's like, I was not a huge fan of Blue Nami in the game, but I understand it being in the game, and I like the idea of like a mill deck being in the game and alternate win condition. That was all fine. However, it was getting to the point where just with it existing, they had to nerf all blue cards coming into the game, because any kind of blue cards that have draw built in, they have to run it past the check of, okay, well, can Nami break this card, right? Or will this be broken in Nami? And that's not a healthy place for the game to be in, from a design standpoint, right? So I foresee the same issue arising, though, now with Blue Purple Luffy. Like with Blue Purple Luffy, okay, here we are. For every single good blue and purple 8-cost or 9-cost character that comes out, is it going to be broken in Blue Purple Luffy if Sanji cheats it out? And are we going to have to put restrictions on every single 8 and 9-cost blue and purple card in the future? Or are we going to pair ban every one of them? It just becomes ridiculous. Because like I was saying with Nami, if they wanted to keep Nami in the game where they just pair ban it with all these new cards that are coming out, that was just not going to make any sense. Like, okay, well, what's the point of having a pair ban where it's like, okay, this leader is so busted it can't run like half the cards to draw, or whatever the case might be, right? Well, now here we are with Blue Purple Luffy. Are they going to ban? Are they going to update the pair ban to where, okay, now you can't have the new promo 8-cost purple Roger in Blue Purple Luffy? Do you guys see what I'm saying? Hopefully I'm making sense. Tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. And we're not just trying to complain, guys. We're actually approaching this from a design, balance, and game health standpoint. And I have to say it like this, guys. I don't see Blue Purple Luffy being that healthy for the game's future. The leader's fine right now. It's not like breaking anything or anything like that. But like, remember, it did have to be pair banned just so that it could be brought back in line with everything, and that was going into OP 13 for the East. So it's like that's wild that it was that strong. And here's the thing: as more and more new cards come out, it could just reemerge as one of the top decks out there. And I honestly think that the biggest problem is the leader itself. However, now going back to the pair ban thing, sorry guys, I just kind of ranting for a minute there. I think the proper way they could have pair banned Blue Purple Luffy, if they wanted to keep it in the game, is by using the 9-cost Sanji. Like, get rid of 9-cost Sanji with the leader, and now all of a sudden they can't cheat out 2, 8, and 9-cost characters at a time, and we're good. Right now, we're fine. Because it's actually very hard to deal with an 8-cost, 9-cost, 10-cost character in the game of One Piece. But if your opponent's cheating out 2 at a time, well, yeah, that's going to be absolutely brutal to deal with. Because remember, guys, there is no board clear. There's no, like, effective board clears in this game on like, an event that are, like, super low cost. That's not really a thing in One Piece. And as we've seen, they're kind of, like, trying to push most of the format away from removal. And they're trying to, you know, move things in a different direction. We'll have to see what happens in the future. But yeah, so we talked about pair bans, guys. I think they're good for the game, and but I just think they need to be very careful with those. Because I think they kind of messed up with Blue Purple Luffy. And then we went from there over to Blue Purple Luffy. I think that leader's fine for now, of course. I'm not trying to complain too much. We're just talking about, thinking about in the future. We're not trying to just complain in this video. I just want to know what you guys think about this potential issue moving forward with Blue Purple Luffy. And now we got to segue from that over to not just purple promo Roger coming out in OP13. Well, again, it's not in the OP13 set, but it's a promo that comes out around that time period. But we're not just going to talk about that card, but just promos in general. Number one, that card's incredible, and it's going to be something that I think brings Purple Luffy back into the fray. So you see how I'm saying all these topics today are kind of interlinked. But I have to say this, I won't talk much about that because I think that's obvious. Tell me what y'all think about Purple Roger if you want to, down below the 8 cost. It's an 8 cost, 10,000 power character that says if you or your opponent has 10 Dawn cards, give your leader plus 2,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. So it's an 8 cost 10k purple that you can cheat out off of Sanji, and now you have a 9k and a 10k on the board, and your leader's an 8k as well. So it is absolute value, right? It's not the same as 9-Lin where you're gaining a life, and it's not the same as Katakuri, but in some ways it's better than them, right? In some ways, Katakuri and Lin are better than Roger, but in some ways, Roger's better than Katakuri and Lin. Because hear me out. So for Charlotte Lin, yes, you gain a life. However, you go Dawn -1. Well, Roger doesn't go Dawn -1. It's an 8 cost 10k. You just play it out, and now you have all your Dawn available. You can actually use your Gum Gum Giant and all that good stuff and still be fine with your Dawn count. However, you know, 9-Lin does draw you a card, or excuse me, it gains you a life. And with Katakuri, it's like, yeah, we lose that blocker, but when you play out Roger, your leader becomes 8,000, like the same size as the Katakuri. So it's like, in some ways, yes, it's worse, but in other ways, it's better. Or at least as good as what was lost. And that's kind of what I was saying before. It's like, I mean, it's just a matter of time before they print more cards. That's just going to be something that takes, you know, Sanji to the next level. And I'm talking about the blue 9-cost Secret Sanji in Blue Purple Luffy, because you set it up so perfectly. Oh well, whatever the case is, let me say this. My biggest issue with Roger is actually going to be the cost of the card. Like, yes, I think Blue Purple Luffy's going to use it and abuse it, and maybe we'll start seeing Blue Purple Luffy pop back up in the top tables in OP13, and who knows, maybe OP14. We'll have to see what happens. But man, promos in general. Now I have to kind of move that into this promo idea. It might be my least favorite thing about Bandai. They're catching us up. So guys, when I first adjust this camera, guys, my arm's falling asleep. There we go. When I first got into One Piece, it was my first real experience with a Bandai game. I had messed around with Digimon. I had messed around with Dragon Ball way back when that first came out, but not enough to be invested like I am now with One Piece, and not really enough to even know what was going on. I could care less who had made the game, right? Because I was just trying it extremely casually. However, now we're at a point where, okay, you know, I can really see what I like and what I dislike about Bandai. And at first, it was, okay, they're leaving us a set behind in One Piece. Well, they caught us up, or they're catching us up, right? They're in the act of catching us up. Okay, cool, check that off the list. They did a good job. Good job, Bandai. Very happy about that. And then, you know, there's some other things, too, that I don't really like about them. At first, I thought the cards were too expensive, but then they started doing reprints. Okay, so yeah, they don't do it perfectly. Understood. Hey, guys, I know they don't do it perfectly. We all know that. However, they're at least reprinting cards. They're on the right track there. Check. That's fine. Now, the final thing, though, was promos. You know, there's other issues I have with Bandai as well, but one of my biggest problems with them right now is this promo idea. I don't like it at all. I don't understand why they think it's okay to print promos. Just like, I mean, isn't that what the extra booster sets should be for? If there's like a certain card that they wish they had printed, you know, after seeing how decks interact with the meta and how people are building them and all that, maybe they should just print out extra booster sets or something like that. Or at least make the promos extremely available where they're practically like handouts for free. And who knows, from what I heard in the East, it sounds like they are. Not literally, I think they come in like magazines and stuff like that. I don't know, I'm not from the East, I don't know anyone over there, but I see people pop up in the chat on my streams every now and then, you know, and talk about, you know, and they're over there and they kind of know what's going on. And it sounds like they get the cards for dirt cheap and the promos pop up everywhere and they can just get them whenever, wherever. And I'm jealous, guys, I'm not going to lie. But I think in general, generally speaking, I wish that promos did not exist in the game in the current state that they do. I wish that promos were extremely, like, nothing to do with new cards. I wish the promos were just reserved for alt arts for collectors. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm going to leave that. I don't want to rant and rave too much about it. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. So just to summarize, number one, the pair bands, I'm a big fan of them, but I hope they continue to improve on that and make some better decisions in the future. Number two, blue-purple Luffy, I think is still potentially going to be an issue moving forward. What do you guys think about that? And what do you guys think about all these? And then number three, promos. What are your guys' thoughts on promos? I am not a fan. I really can't stand them, if I'm being honest with you guys. Promos, again, if they were just alt arts of cards we can get in normal sets, no problem. In fact, I love that idea. But no, this whole idea of like them being exclusive to, you know, being promos, however, wherever you get them, not a huge fan. All right, I'm done, guys. Hope y'all enjoyed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all today. Till next time, peace.